welcome back, everyone, to another episode of the Minnesota Rackstars Podcast. I'm your host, Joe Call, and today we are sitting down with the one and only Mikey Wallen, Big Mike. He's here with us, or I'm here with him today, and we're sitting down and we're talking about this upcoming season and things we are doing to prep and anticipate and, try to start putting the pieces of the puzzle together to hopefully have some success. And we're not just talking about physical success, we're talking about mental success as well in this podcast. And this is definitely something that you're going to want to listen to, because it's a great reminder on what we should be focusing on this year as outdoorsmen, humans, good people, Christians, you name it, man. This is something that all of you are going to want to listen to, and make sure you stay tuned all the way to the end, because the podcast gets really good right at the end. And I'm thankful to have the opportunity to sit down here with Mike today and do this podcast. Hope you guys are having a great day, and I hope you guys enjoy it. Let's get to it. All right, it's time to kick it off again. And today, for some reason, I know that it is July 13th, because yesterday was July 12th.
Which is a special day for you.
Special day it is. Special day it is, Mike. It was my birthday yesterday, and we came down here to do a little celebrating with Mike and Sarah and their family, and the girls came down with us, and we're still down here. It is the day after not only my birthday, but also Snapchat karaoke.
That is correct. There was a lot of special guests last night.
Yeah.
That I was actually surprised that we were able to pull them and get them here.
You know, it was pretty amazing that every one of those artists showed up last night.
I know, right?
For my birthday. It was absolutely amazing. So shout out to everyone that showed up last night. It was a phenomenal concert throughout the entire night into the morning. And it was, I want to say, like, the first guest that showed up, everybody thought he was done.
Right.
Everybody thought he was done
Yep.
singing. He wasn't going to do any more live performances. And then all of a sudden, out of the blue, there he is in your swimming pool.
In the pool, just floating with his guitar.
Alan Jackson showed up last night, folks. And he played a little Chattahoochee in the pool for my birthday. So that was pretty cool to see him come here. But in all honesty, Mike, you actually went down to Nashville last week, or was it the week before? Last week, wasn't it? Last weekend?
2 weeks ago already.
2 weeks ago?
Yeah, 2 weeks.
All right, time flies.
Yeah.
Time flies.
Yeah.
But you went down there for Alan Jackson's last concert.
I did. I got to see him and an outstanding cast of performers, just the bucket list of all concerts that you could go to. So there's about 11 other big-time name artists like Carrie Underwood, Lainey Wilson, and the big one, George Strait, was there with them and came out and sang with them. So it was a once-in-a-lifetime concert for sure. It was pretty awesome.
Speaking of Lainey Wilson, she showed up last night, too.
She did show up last night. It was looking real good.
Real good in those tight leather pants she was wearing. She nailed it, too. She nailed the song that she was singing. It was a request line that was open on my Snapchat, and people were able to request in and request any artist they wanted. And for some reason, in a blink of an eye, they showed up here and performed for my birthday. It was for my birthday. But also, I don't know, who was your favorite performer at the actual concert?
At the actual concert?
Yeah.
I don't know. It was really cool to see Luke Combs. Granted that every artist came out and sang one song. They got to pick, but they had some sort of connection to Alan. So, but the neat thing about Luke Combs is, I was supposed to go see him. Sarah and I were supposed to go see him. That's when Clara.
We were supposed to go with you.
Yeah. And Justin and Sydney were supposed to go with too, and then Clara ended up, bit down at the Mayo for her cancer stuff, and so just to be at a concert with Justin and Sydney, and see Luke Combs was kind of cool. It's kind of like that what should have been, but I don't know. Alan Jackson, obviously he's the headliner, but just like I said, him and George Strait together were pretty phenomenal. But Lainey Wilson, though, man, she is a performer. She's on another level for singing. So she sang "Tall, Tall Trees," and it was a pretty awesome rendition of that song for sure.
Now you've been down to Nashville, what?
Several times.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
I know, right?
And you got a connection down there, obviously.
Yeah. No, I was just talking to my parents about that. I said, when Justin and Sydney moved down there, it's like, well, man, my brother, he's been around. I've been pretty close to him living wise, where I could just jump in the vehicle and drive. And so I'm like, man, when he moved down there, I was like, man, how often are we going to get to see him? And I think I've been down there probably 5 or 6 times over the last 3 years. So I mean, that's pretty awesome to go down there and have that opportunity to just hang out with him down there and just to be in Nashville. I mean, you know about it. When we went down there, it was a blast. So.
Yeah, I imagine that wasn't my last time down in Nashville.
No,
I don't know. We might be making the move here one of these days, Mike, and just saying, you know what, we're going chips all in, and you know what, we're going to try to make a living singing karaoke in Nashville. You never know. It might happen.
Alan Jackson's third floor, baby.
So you stayed with your brother when you were down there?
Yeah. This time we did. Yep. We actually thought about getting a hotel, and we ended up kind of getting like an Uber XL. It was like a separate transportation company that literally came, picked us up, dropped us off where we wanted it to, and then picked us up right after the concert. And so it worked out good for the concert, and then also just to spend some time with them at their house. And we went down a couple. I think we were down there for 6 days, so it was fun. It was a good time.
Tell me about that bourbon tour you went on the last time. Not this last time, but the time before you went on one.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
That bourbon
when we
tour?
went down, that was last February or maybe the year before. I flew into Nashville, hung out with Justin and Sydney for a little while, and then Justin and another buddy, and then a couple other buddies flew in. But we drove up to Kentucky, and then we went and did the Bourbon Trail. And so my brother kind of got me into the bourbon scene, and I haven't looked back. So, but no, it's pretty incredible. Just the history behind all that bourbon and like how it's made, and like the criteria that it has to go through. You know, it has to be made in America, white oak barrels, the different proofs, the different amount of corn percentages that have to be in. I mean, it's pretty neat on how it all comes together, and then it takes 6-7 years to actually be bottled. So I mean, it's just a process, but it's pretty neat. So
sit there and stare at the bourbon barrel, licking your chops, waiting for 7 years to
right.
crack her open.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, that's cool. Yeah, you've taken some trips. I've taken some trips. Been out to the Black Hills. Went out to a family reunion just across the border of North Dakota into Montana. Out there, tell you what, I've seen hail now like 3 times this year. It's been crazy.
About that.
Yeah, it's been crazy. We've had it 2 or maybe even 3 times at home now. And when we were out in Montana, it like hailed for, I don't know, probably an hour, close to an hour. It's just ridiculous.
Just white at that point.
Well, it wasn't coming down
sure.
like insanely fast, but it was just like bam, bam. Like you just look around, you could see the hail falling, but that was anywhere from pea size all the way up to almost golf ball size.
I was just gonna ask you how big that was.
Yeah. So that was kind of crazy, and there's a nice overhang on the outside, so like people could outside the building we were in for the family reunion, so people got to, you know, kind of stand underneath the overhang and watch all the hail come down and whatnot. And yeah, it's been a crazy start, or I shouldn't say start. Well, kind of start to the summer.
Yeah,
summer
right.
technically didn't start here too long ago, but right now we're kind of in a heat wave big time, and that was one of the reasons we picked this weekend to come down here too, is because you guys got a nice swimming pool. Obviously, Alan Jackson was in there last night, so you might not ever want to change that water in there.
I probably won't. That was, it's been, I mean, this heat wave coming now, but like you've had a couple big storms come through up by your house too, huh?
Yeah. We've been in a tornado warning a couple times, and
possible funnel cloud. Didn't you video or take a picture of the?
Well, the tough part is like, okay, the town I live near was in a tornado warning. They're like, there's funnel clouds, you know, take cover, this and that, and so what do? Just like any other Minnesotan, I stand by the window and watch, you know. But it was dark out, so it was dark, but it was lightning nonstop
so
the entire night. And all of a sudden you see these clouds like kind of hanging down a little bit, and then all of a sudden they get bigger and bigger, and then all of a sudden I'm like, get out of here, keep pushing north, keep pushing north.
Right.
But yeah, I took a picture and posted on social media because I saw these like tails hanging out of the sky. It's like, is this considered a funnel cloud? I don't know, but yeah, it's in the evening, in the nighttime hours when you're in those tornado warning and stuff, and I don't know, it's just something with human nature. You have to see it to believe it that it's coming, right? And Kaylee, my wife, was telling me, like, I had a patient like barely get in the basement before a tornado came.
Oh, wow.
So we should have been in cover, but Why don't you wrap up your turkey season from last year?
Yeah, no, it was a fun season. We went out to South Dakota first. Got our birds out there, which was awesome. Came back and I'll be honest, I didn't buy my license right. I wasn't sure what season I was going to go, and I kind of just kept pushing it off. Not necessarily because I wanted to, but just life was busy and I wasn't able to go, and so. And then I wanted to get Sarah out, and so Sarah was able to go out and hunt a couple times, and we had some pretty awesome opportunities to shoot some birds, and we were on one piece of property, and I know we literally were walking back, and it's kind of in these little ravines, and it's all trees back there, and there's a couple swamps, and we got back in there, and my dad gave one call, and all of a sudden you heard him gobble, and we're like, oh, we need to sit down, and so we set some decoys up to the right-hand side of us, and you could just hear him getting closer. You could hear him spitting and drumming, which if you haven't heard that, that's probably one of the most awesome things ever. Just, they're close, they're coming. So then we were sitting there, and you could see him up on top of the hill. Well, Sarah was sitting kind of to my right a little bit, and she couldn't quite see. She could see the head a little bit up there, but from her angle, she was a little bit lower, and so she wasn't able to get a shot. And unfortunately, I didn't have my gun up because I was expecting it just to for her to get a shot at one. And so we didn't get one that time. And then we ended up going to another property that has been pretty good. And we seen them out in the field. And so we snuck around the backside of the woods and got into a spot that we thought was good. A little food plot in between some trees, some groves of trees. And so we're sitting there, and I'm just like, I just don't know if this is the right spot. So I was like, I'm going to call Dad and figure out where. So I reached down, I grabbed my phone like this, and I'm talking to my dad, and I look over, and here they come right around the wood pile, like 15, 20 yards away from us. I mean, it was just perfect. And, of course, couldn't get a shot at that. But that same property is where she was able to get a bird. A couple days later, we went back out, and she was able to finally get one on the ground. And so then it was my turn. Then I was like, all right, I'm going to go. And so we're fortunate enough to have some pretty awesome neighbors that gave us kind of a tip on a gentleman that lives just to the north of us here, and said, well, you can ask him and see what happens. And so we did. And I mean, this property's beautiful. I mean, it's 80 acres of hard woods, but it's got a snowmobile trail cut through it that's like 20 feet wide. I mean, it's just, when I think of turkey hunting and setting up on little bends around in the ravines, around the trees or whatever, where the turkeys are going to come right in, it's money. And so I was hunting with my dad. We didn't get anything, and I was like, you know what, I'm gonna try going out in the morning. And so I asked Dad, I'm like, what time could you shoot? And I think it was like a little after 5 o'clock you could shoot already. And so I'm like, you know what, I think I can do that before I go to school.
Yep.
And so I ended up going out there, got up and got up to the top of the hill and called and didn't hear anything, and walked about maybe like 50 yards farther down this snowmobile trail, called one more time with an owl call, just a little locator call, and all of a sudden he gobbled. I'm like, I don't know where you are right now. I mean, I've been on that property before, but I wasn't entirely sure like how what was around the corner and stuff. So I'm going to plop down. And so I did. And so I'm sitting there, and I can hear him gobbling, and I just happened to look up in the tree to my left, and there's a bird. And I'm like, what in the world? And in my mind, I'm like, oh, great, it's a hen, right? I'm like, perfect. I'm between him and the hen. This is awesome, like she might fly down towards him, but at least, or I can spook her off, and then, he's going to think she's over there, and then he'll, eventually work his way that way. And all of a sudden he turns, and I just see his beard dangling up there. and so I'm like, all right, now what am I going to do? I'm like, do I scare him out of the roost? What do I do? Do I wait for him to fly down? I knew I was kind of in a time crunch, and so, but I couldn't move. Like, I was literally frozen because he was like right above me. So I kind of just waited, and I'm like looking at my watch to see what time it is, and it's getting closer and closer to the time that you can shoot. And I'm like, all right, let's see what he's going to do. And you could tell he was getting nervous. He was kind of walking back and forth on that branch and kind of turning, and, you could tell something was up. And then he like flapped his wings once, and I'm like, oh, he's going to fly. And I'm like, he's probably going to fly into another tree. Like, I mean, that's just from what I've experienced that's what they're going to do. If they
Sure.
get spooked, they're going to fly up in another tree. And
Yep.
and all of a sudden I looked and it was like 5:07, I think, and he could legally shoot, and he was still up there. And I'm like, okay, waited 5 more minutes. It was 5:12. And all of a sudden he flew, and instead of flying into the tree, he flew down right in front of me, probably about 40 yards. Flew down and hit the snowmobile trail and just kind of stopped there. And I'm like, oh, pulled the gun up and I shot and dropped him right there. And so I came back home and I went in to wash my hands in the bathroom and tapped Sarah on the foot, and she was still sleeping before school. And she goes, oh, she's like, did you not get up in your alarm? I said, no, it's dead in the back of the truck already. She's like, no way. And I mean, this was a big bird. I mean, it had a beautiful fan. I think 1 1/4 inch spurs. It was all, what I say, like almost 11-inch beard, if not 10 1/4, 11-inch beard. I mean, it was a heavy bird. I don't have a scale, but
yeah, we kind of both had situations where birds were up in the roost. I think I shared this story already, but yeah, I had some birds roosted on some permission property this year, and all of a sudden they got out of the roost, and I wanted to reposition myself to try to get around them. Well, next thing you know, it comes flying over the top of the ridge right towards me and hops up in a tree just staring me down. I'm like, oh my gosh. But yeah, you're in a situation where you're like, what do you do?
Right.
You know, when it's right there and it
Right.
can see you, all that stuff. Talk to me a little bit about that permission that you were granted on that property. How did you approach it going in, asking them, and then post-hunt,
Sure.
you know, what are some things?
So, well, Sarah actually reached out to, because she's part of our neighborhood, like, I don't know if they got a Facebook group or something.
Sure.
I don't know why I'm not part of it, but anyway, she reached out to the gentleman and just asked, and he just said, like, you know, I had a husband or a dad and a son that were hunting in there earlier this year, but he's like, I think they're done, so yeah, you can go have at it. So we actually went out there once with her hunting when we weren't able to get anything, but we at least got to like kind of walk around the property and kind of see what we had, you know, what it had to offer. And the thing with this property, there's so many spots where they could be. I mean, there's around the outside that we got some big egg fields around the property, so like on the outsides, you know, they could be there in the morning, they could be, you know, roosting like way back in there. And then the neighbor property all the way to the north actually also had some like food plots and some big egg fields that they're definitely out, you know, sunning themselves or dusting themselves off or strutting. And so we went out there and he showed us kind of where we could park. He said, this is my property. This is where you can go, you know, have at it. And so, I mean, immediately when I walked in, I'm like, oh man, this is turkey country. And actually, I was kind of looking for sheds too, because I was like, man, there's got to be some big deer in this property too. But they must you think you would have found something in there, but they must really kind of walk through it and hammer it home. But so then I'm like, well, we got to get them something, you know. I show some appreciation for, and this was after Sarah hunted and we didn't get anything, and that was gonna be it. But I was like, you know what, I want him to know like we appreciate it. You know, property's not, you know, always easy to come by, especially when it comes to permission. You know, if they got a lot of people coming or they had a bad experience with someone, you know, you want to make sure that you're, you know, being authentic and being thankful and appreciative for them letting you use their property. And so we went and got him a gift card to the meat market in town and gave it to him. And he's like, you didn't need to do that, you know, but like, no, we appreciate, you know, you letting us hunt. And so then Sarah had reached back out to him the morning or the night before that I was going to go back out there and just said, hey, would it be okay if, you know, Mike comes out here and hunts tomorrow morning? He goes, yeah, go ahead. And
Nice.
so went back out there and we sent him, you know, after I shot it, sent him pictures, and he said, man, that's a nice bird. He said, that's awesome. And so, you know, it kind of just makes me feel like maybe next year, you know, if we, you know, it's close to home. It's literally less than a mile. I do have other places that I can hunt, but just to have that convenience of being able to just drive down the road a mile and be able to hunt, you know, gives you more opportunities just in case you get into a situation where you can't get back to, you know, Belgrade to hunt or, you know, to our other properties.
Yeah, that is a huge benefit. And, you know, kind of leading us into this year, talking more deer, but I can't talk to you without talking a little turkeys. So
Right.
we had to get that taken care of. But yeah, you want to definitely develop those relationships.
Yeah.
And like you said, I like the term you use, be authentic.
Yes.
I see, I don't know, I've seen people before, like, I don't know, when I've gone out west before hunting and all of a sudden you go into the local saloon, right, and you're in there and you're having supper or whatever, and we have permission property out there, and you see these out-of-towners come into the saloon, and you know who the out-of-towners are because they're wearing baseball caps and,
Right.
Sitka and everything else, you know what I mean? So they come in there and the locals, you know who the locals are. They have cowboy hats on and button-up shirts,
Exactly.
But then all of a sudden you start seeing these guys start sitting a little closer to the guy who owns property out there. And I don't know, you just sometimes see those people that are just, I don't know, like you said, I don't know if trying too hard or just not being authentic.
Right.
And
Right.
that's the one thing that I've learned throughout the years with permission properties. And I've done it. I've knocked on doors a couple times where I just show up or whatever. But the first thing, like in my mind, is just letting them know who you are.
Right.
And just be you. Sometimes they'll see people talking to other people where all of a sudden they're just, kind of putting on a show where it's like, just be you. Talk like we're talking right now. You know what I mean? Just talk in this tone, whatever. Don't try to be too cute, right?
Yeah.
And that's one of the big things. But then in the end, win, lose, or draw, when it comes to hunting, make sure you return that favor in some way, shape, or form, whether it's helping them out on their farm or bringing them food. I know for me, if I was a property owner, food goes a long ways. And one thing we usually do is we bring bacon wherever we go. We have some pretty good homegrown bacon where we're from, and we bring that out there. But you talk about the convenience part of things. Now, where you deer hunt isn't right around here. It's more convenient for your dad to be near the property during this time of the year, whether it's food plot season, improvements to everything. We did get out to your guys' property, and we kind of walked around this past fall or spring. But what are some things that maybe you or your dad have done to the property in hopes of harvesting something out on your property this year?
Yeah, we changed up the crops this year. I mean, we put out at the new land, a big thing that we changed up is we took the whole south end of the property. The food plot that we had there was alfalfa last year. Actually it was corn. No, there might have been a little bit of alfalfa on the edge yet.
Sure.
I think there's a little chunk, but we turned it into all beans now. And family friend of ours has been kind of doing some of the bigger fields, so he's putting some corn in, but he's taking it off and leaving us a certain amount of rows or whatever. And so that'll be different this year because some of that corn on that end of the field was actually gone last year. You know what I mean? So because he took it off, and so now we're going to have that food there all year long, which will be definitely helpful.
Yeah.
We planted 12 or 15, maybe it was 12 pine trees along the north side of Sarah and my stand. And so we're hoping that like when those get a little bigger, those deer are going to feel a little more safe, a little more enclosed in that area. It's also going to block the road, like across the pond, you can see all the way to that corner, right? And not saying that people stop out there and look out there, but just that comfort level for those deer to come out and not have to worry about, because they would come out and eat in the food plot right in front of us. Like, we just have a little clover plot or a little brassica plot.
Yep.
But they would try to get to that corn so quick. They'd shoot across there, and so clearly they weren't feeling the ease that we needed them to kind of hang out there first for a little while. So I'm hoping that once those trees get a little bit bigger, that'll definitely be an opportunity for the deer to kind of hang out in there. I'm still trying to think, when we went out to docks, and this has just been sticking with me because that's what I like having you come out to the properties, because it's just a different lens. You bring a different, just the thought process. Like you said, there's no undergrowth out there, if you remember, like, because at docks you can literally stand on top of the hill and pretty much see the whole property. And so I'm just trying to think about like what we can do to clear that out. So like that's something that I want to still do, before the hunting season, is try to figure out how we can get clear some of that out. And I don't know why, but there's not undergrowth out there.
Well, there's a couple things I think that play a factor. You look at the north side of that ridge versus the south side of that ridge. The south side of that ridge is just full of thick cover. You have all the cedars, everything. That's getting a lot of sunlight, throughout the entire day, where that north side isn't getting as much sunlight, but that canopy is pretty thick, and it wouldn't hurt to like figure out where you want these deer to bed maybe, and then just go in there and drop some trees and just to open up that canopy a little bit. The other thing too that I've done before too is I'll take like my leaf blower after I'll knock down trees, and I'll take my leaf blower and I'll ruffle up those leaves just to kind of, I don't know, expose the ground a little bit to get some sunlight and get some of those forbs or whatever starting to grow underneath, just to get some cover of some sort. I was actually thinking about that property the other day too, thinking about setting trail cameras and placement stuff. It'll be really interesting to see if you guys put that camera on that ridge that we walked when we were leaving during that rut phase, and catch those bucks
running the top,
running that ridge, because there's a lot of funnels in there where it pinches down and it looks like a cattle trail going through there, you know. So I was actually thinking about that the other day as well. But so the other thing I'm interested in is the one spot that was really intriguing to me was that spot right behind the box stand you guys had at the end of that field, and where I said, like, this is just deer haven in here. We got the canary grass coming up in the willows and stuff like that. To see if people sit there this year and have success, or even just setting a trail camera up in there with a scrape in there or something. That's buck haven in there. I've seen it too many times, and it's just awesome. Bam, there it is when we were walking through it. But I know a lot of people will send me videos and stuff of like this deer or whatever. Pay attention to bucks and photos of bucks, and I guess mainly in our neck of the woods, because a lot of the big bucks you see, they're not falling down and tipping over on a lawn that's, inch and a half tall. They're tipping over in canary grass, cattails. I mean, these bucks love being in areas where they have tall cover, grass, cattails, willows right there next to them at all times. There's a reason why. But yeah, you start paying attention to some of the grip and grin photos of these bucks, these big bucks that are being shot. A lot of times there's a lot of grass and a lot of cattail and a lot of thick willows and all that stuff around these guys. When I was walking your property with you at the shed land there, it was like, oh, here's that spot. Oh, here's that spot.
Right.
It's in the bottom area. You think about early season, and that's one of the things too. Probably should talk about like early season tactics that we should be thinking about, and maybe getting those stands set. You think about early season archery when it is, mid-September, even early October, when you have days similar to this here. I think it's supposed to be 90-some today. In late September, early October, you're going to get some of those days where it's upper 80s, right? Maybe even touching 90. Well, think about a deer. They're not going to be sitting there
out in the middle of the
sunning themselves. In our neck of the woods, they're going to want to be in a low shaded area, and oftentimes water, because water is cooler, right? So those are kind of those areas that we were kind of looking at in your property there. Like, this would be a good early season rut and late season. Like, it's just a prime area because it's lower, it's cooler. They can stay down there, cool off a little bit. There's shade, all that stuff. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens this year. There's always so much anticipation leading into the upcoming season. Have you guys been running some trail cameras?
Yeah,
you got those going already?
We do have trail cams out. Yeah, we kept them out all year because, with the turkeys, it's always nice to catch your turkeys in there. Once again this year, I think last year too, caught ourselves a black bear on there. That's, thinking about years, like all my years of hunting, never, ever did we see anything other than maybe a coyote or, other than deer, turkeys, whatever. And so, but just one time came through, pretty decent black bear, but probably won't see him again. But, that's just kind of how it goes. But yeah, no, we ran all our trail cams all year. The one place we don't have trail cams though is out at docks. And right now we're just kind of, Dad and I were joking. We're like, maybe we should just not put any trail cams out there. Maybe we should just leave it untouched, not, and then just kind of anticipate, get excited about what might be out there. But it's still nice to kind of get an idea of what time they're moving, the wind, checking the wind and everything else on, because it's nice with those trail cams. But so we got a couple bucks on camera, nothing crazy yet. Except for the big one that's out by my parents' house.
Right. That's a legend out there now, because I
Mhm.
think we've seen him for a couple years now.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to go do some door knocking here pretty
Right,
soon.
right. And there's not a whole lot of land you can hunt out there.
Yeah.
There's some hunters that are already out there, but yeah, that one, man, I look back at a picture from him from last year on July 5th. It's funny because it's July, 4th of July this past
Yep.
week, whatever. That's when I saw him again.
Oh,
You
sure.
know, and so like, but he's a beast. He's a good one.
Yeah, you talk about not putting trail cameras up. This kind of a reunion from last year's podcast, or a recap and whatever of things I wanted to do last year going into last year's season, was not bank on my trail cameras, get away from that a little bit. And it was so much more fun going out there hunting, not really knowing, or like, I'm not going because of I'm not getting them on camera or whatever, and just going out and hunting and getting that old-fashioned feeling again of just like, I'm out here to have fun. And it was a lot of fun. I enjoyed last year's hunting season a lot more than a lot of the previous years, because I got too analytical with my trail cameras. Where
Yep.
it's like, throw that stuff in the garbage, man. Like, just hunt and enjoy it again. And that was a lot of fun. That was a ton of fun. I know a couple of spots that I have permission on, and properties that we own. We didn't put up as many trail cameras as
Sure.
we normally do, or have. And to be honest with you, I was okay with it. And like I said, it was just knowing that, okay, I only have one camera up there. I'm missing a lot of deer. I know I am. So that put that optimism back into me, and just drove me even harder to get
Sure.
out there and,
Yep.
and have
Yep.
fun with it.
Yep.
But yeah, it's getting to be closer to like really cranking things up. What's the latest with your county as far as the firearms goes? I don't know if you got an update on that.
Yeah, no. So we got 3 different properties that we hunt. 2 of them are in Candy, Ohio, and one of them is in Stearns. So 2 different counties. Stearns County did make the switch to rifles. They're allowing the rifles to be used now. And so the shed-land, technically, we'd be able to use a rifle at the shed-land. Which I think about, I mean, you've been out there. If you think about sitting in that penthouse stand, that big box stand out there, and having a deer come out across by the road there, I mean, they don't stand a chance, like
Yep.
the opportunity to shoot something a lot farther away. But Candy County decided to stick with shotguns only.
Oh,
so,
nice.
So the like docks in the new land will still be shotgun only.
What are you gonna do? Are you just gonna keep the shotgun? Are you gonna
I-
fire up a rifle?
I
What's
don't
your
know.
plan?
We'll see. As of right now, I mean, I got a couple rifles in the gun case, or in the gun safe, but I don't know. There's something about shotgun hunting. I really enjoy shotgun hunting. I mean, it's the only thing I've done too, so I mean, it makes sense. But I'll probably stick to shotgun.
Sure. Yeah, I don't know. It's interesting to hear all these different states and their perspectives and all that stuff. I know Michigan is doing a lot over there and changing things up, and change is hard for a lot of people, because you get tradition involved, you get ethics, involved, all that stuff. You get politics involved, you get money involved, all that stuff. Yeah, so I mean, do what you want type of thing, and just remember, just enjoy it,
Yeah. Yeah, for
whatever
sure.
you're using.
Yep.
Go have fun with it, make it a challenge, and maybe one day you say, you know what, I'm going bringing the shotgun. One day, I'm bringing the rifle,
Right,
depending on
right,
which stand
right,
you're going
right.
to,
True.
But yeah, so that's interesting to see what's happening in all the states, and see where things are going to go from here on out, because you're never going to satisfy everybody. There's always going to be somebody complaining.
No.
And actually, that was one of the things I was going to talk about, was people complaining about things, and I'm guilty of it too, just as much as anyone else. But it's just one of those things where, I don't know, just in our society, we just naturally find ways to complain about things.
Right. Even when things are going okay.
Yeah,
good,
exactly,
we
right?
still find something
Yeah.
to complain about.
Like, our
right?
state isn't that bad, but I think a lot of times, like in my mind, it's like, we can be better. We can be better. We can be
Right,
better,
right,
So
right.
you find something to nitpick at or whatever. But I do want to give a shout out to all of our law enforcement, conservation officers, all that stuff, because you guys, have done a great job. 4th of July here was, last weekend or whatever. Thank you guys for everything that you do, especially conservation officers. You have a job to enforce the rules and regulations in every state, and people, sometimes are negative towards you guys and gals, but know that we support you guys, and we want to thank you for everything that you do, because if we didn't have you guys enforcing some type of rule or regulation, it would be a cluster, an absolute cluster.
Yeah, right?
So thanks to all of you guys out there and gals who are in law enforcement, Army, all that stuff, Marines, everything, Coast Guard, brother-in-laws in the Coast Guard,
Sure.
all of you out there. Thank you for all of your service that you have given to us. And I just wanted to point that out moving into this year, because our rules and regulations will be coming out here shortly, and I'm sure people will be bickering about it. Right. But ultimately, it's not our conservation officer or DNR department that ultimately comes down to making those rules and regulations. A lot of times it is, here, take this. Right. This is what you're in charge of. Enforce these rules and regulations.
Right, for sure.
So, kind of going back off of last year, Mike, and maybe even previous years, what are some things that you might have learned from last year that you're going to carry with you going into this year's hunting season? It can be anywhere you want to go with this, but something that you might have learned last year that you're going to kind of implement going into this year here.
Yeah, I don't know. I talked about it last year, but like just the wind factor, how big everything has to be right for that big buck or whatever you're hunting to come in. The conditions have to be right, and unfortunately, like over the years, I still continue to make that mistake of like, well, I want to hunt that stand. I know he's been in there. I want to get in there, and sometimes it comes down to limit of time and the availability that I have to hunt, and so I go to that stand and I overhunt properties way too much, and I don't even look for other areas to go because I'm so like just in the zone, and part of it's trail cams, right? That deer comes out, how often is he coming out? And even when I get analytical with it, I still tend to overhunt that spot, right? And so
it's probably a comfort thing too.
It is, yeah. And so I think just opening the opportunity to hunt other areas is always something I continue to learn from the year before, and even that spot you were talking about at the Shedland, like those are the spots where you're going to have that opportunity. You're still going to need the conditions to be right, but wherever if the wind's right and you can get in there, like that's going to be the opportunity for you to shoot something, big, or maybe something that you're after, or whatever that comes down to. But
yeah, think about this last night when all our celebrities were here and we had a campfire going. For the most part, that smoke was blowing in the same direction, but then all of a sudden you get that shift, right? Yeah. Everybody sat around a campfire. It's not just one direction the entire time. Right. All of a sudden it switches, and especially you guys on some of your properties where you have some big ridges and stuff. Mm-hmm. I am no expert in thermals and winds in hill country, because I've always hunted pretty flat, terrain. But that's a whole nother ball game there. You know what I mean? This last year I hunted a spot where I was in a low valley, and I was like, I shouldn't be sitting here, but it looks like such a good spot. I'm like, I just want to try it. And the wind was actually coming into my face, right? And I was anticipating the deer coming from that direction, or cutting across the wind. So the wind was going from west to east, and I was anticipating deer moving north and south. Well, the wind's coming from the west, and I had a deer bust me from the west. It was just blowing to beat heck. I'm like, I knew it. Just because I was in a low bowl, and the west, it got towards evening, and the wind died down, and that's what got me was the wind died down, and those thermals started sucking my scent down lower, right? It's going to pull, your thermals are going to pull down in the evening. Well, my thermals pulled down, and all of a sudden, boom, I was getting busted from the direction that I thought I was going to see them. And the biggest eye-opener for me was going back to what I said earlier. we are uh, believers of our eyes, right? We only believe it if we see it. And people have always talked about thermals. It's like, okay, this is what thermals are doing. This is what people are saying it happens. Thermals pull down in the evening.
Yeah.
Well, I was tilling up my field one time, and there's a low valley in my field, and I was tilling it up using a disc, and there was no wind whatsoever. And I was driving to the south, and the dust was kind of following me, and then I turned around and I started driving back towards the north, and the dust was following me back to the north. I'm like, what the heck is going on? Like, I thought the wind was going that way. Well, here, all that dust was funneling down into that low area. It was so calm. It kept funneling down into that low area, and it sucked right into the woods where a lot of deer come out.
Yep.
But once I saw that, I'm like, there's the thermals. That's what I'm experiencing right now. I saw it actually with my eyes because of the dust being pulled and sucked down in there. I was like, all right, this is a real thing. It's not just, something people talk about. But yeah, that was something that was really a huge, literally an eye opener for me.
For sure, yeah.
Seeing that. But yeah, wind is definitely a huge factor.
Yeah, and another thing that I think, like we were talking about complaining, and we both said, yeah, we've complained but sometimes I let my attitude get the best of me, like that disappointment, right? And I kind of forget about why we're out there. I kind of and that's something like I tell myself at the beginning of the season, just learn from last year. Don't get upset when you don't see something, or you go a couple sits and you don't see anything. And it's easier to say that out loud than it is to actually live and breathe that, right? And so, but just thinking about like over the years, like how many hunting experiences that maybe weren't as good as they could have been because I got a bad attitude or something. And then everyone that's sitting at that at hunting camp, everyone just gets this mood. And you know what? My dad's guilty of it. My brother's guilty of it. We're all guilty of it at some point. And so like I think this year too, I just want to just appreciate the hunt more than worrying about what am I trying to do? Like, I'm out here in God's country getting to see all these beautiful things that not everyone gets to see, And so I just think, like, that might be something to take away from the last several years, that it just needs to change and stick. Like, let's just go out and hunt and have fun and just, just appreciate what we have in front of us.
I was actually listening to a podcast where an individual was talking about their product that supposedly blocks out energy from being given out to animals.
Sure, yeah.
I think you're familiar with that.
Yep.
So, yeah, maybe you guys got to double down on that a little bit. But it's 100% right, man. How many times have you gone out to the woods with a PO'd attitude and had really good luck? I mean, very seldom does that happen.
Yes.
Very seldom does that happen. I think about the trips I've gone on. I think about this last year, right? Like, I was getting skunked around here. Like, I knew there were good deer around, and I was getting skunked. And it wasn't until I finally just leaned back in my tree, I closed my eyes, and I just took a deep breath, and I relaxed, and I just had a moment where it was just me in the outdoors, and I was talking to God about just being thankful for everything. It wasn't even let me see a deer.
Right.
It was being thankful for everything and just reflecting on how good I have it. And all of a sudden I open up my eyes and I look, and there's a buck working his way right towards me. And you could say, yeah, baloney, whatever. Well, whatever, man. I mean, I didn't feel that way all season until that moment.
Right.
And all of a sudden, boom, there it was. But yeah, I told my brother one time, brother shot a really nice buck. I think it went over 162 or something one time, and we were going out hunting. I said, I got a bad feeling, boys. And like, what's that? I said, something's going to die. I said, something's going to die. And sure enough, he shot a hog. And yeah, it's important. But like you said, sometimes you're just not feeling it, right? You have those days and those moments where you're not feeling it. And there are times that I'm like, you know what, I shouldn't even go hunting because I just do not have a good feeling.
Yep.
And whatever that feeling is, I don't know, man, but that gut instinct, like, I'm not going to see anything. And to be honest with you, I think that's what I'm going to do this year. Like if I have a gut instinct, like I am not going to see anything, things just aren't right, I'm not feeling it, I might just keep my butt at home because
right.
I might be better off staying at home and spending time with my family or whatever, getting something done versus going out in the field with a negative attitude thinking I'm not going to see anything.
I'm just going to sit out here and see nothing anyway. So.
But that's a big part of who you are. It's mindset. You've talked a lot with your students and staff and all that stuff about mindset. It is a thing. There's no doubt about it. Every single good hunt that you've had, I guarantee you, everybody has had good vibes going into it, or just kind of neutral, just kind of going on like, whatever happens. Because you see those hunters out there who end up shooting these world-class whitetails where, I don't know, I just went out there for the first time and I saw a deer and got bang, she went down. Oh, what's it got? Oh, it's got double drop tine. What? Get out of here, dog. But yeah, no, it's definitely a thing. And I don't know, I really think too, like what I have done now, talking about giving off vibes and whatnot, and they talk about deer having a sixth sense. And, and that's what they say is that sixth sense. They can detect that energy. So you think about when people, like right now, say it's July, right, and you're walking out in the woods, you're not on pins and needles, right? You're just going out there doing your thing, and deer kind of look at you like, whatever, it's just Mikey Wallen,
Mikey Wallen's
he's
out
probably
here.
going to do a concert right now or something, some karaoke, but it's right now you're not going out there to hunt, but as soon as you put the camo on or the blaze orange on, all of a sudden the heart starts pumping a little bit, right? All of a sudden it turns into, instead of here in July, you're out in the woods and you're kind of talking like we are right now, it turns into, hey, Mike, we're going to go over here, okay? Yep, sounds good. All of a sudden things change, and all of a sudden you start to see the deer behavior change as well. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
So when I have a deer come walking in, that's one of the things that I have actually started to focus on, is not to get too worked up and just like start thinking about random things to some degree, because otherwise if I don't know, I just feel like all of a sudden those deer, like, boom, they look at you, right? And it's like, okay, the wind was going the other way or whatever, thermals, whatever. Right. But I just feel sometimes like when I have that energy, like, all right, there he is, you're done, versus, oh my gosh, you know what I mean? Like I've started to play around with that a little bit, and I don't know, it helps me mentally, and hopefully it's helping with that sixth sense of the deer as well, like not putting off that extra vibe that there's something here watching me. Right. Everybody's had that feeling before. We're like, all right, who's here? You get that feeling in the room that somebody's watching me or something's going on. Well, the deer have that times a gazillion. I guarantee you that.
Especially that big old mature doe that sits there and stomps her foot at you and just stares at you for like 6 years straight. No.
Yeah, exactly right. Oh man. But yeah, I like the attitude portion of that. That's good. Yeah. Anything else? I mean, or is that kind of the main thing you want to hit on?
I think those are the big things. I think just making sure I'm prepared. Like I think that's always something to think about. Like shooting your bow several times, from different. We were watching that show this morning, and the guy was standing up in the blind. I'm like, well, I don't shoot standing up very often because I sit on. I got a tall chair or stool that I can sit on. So I don't shoot from that position, but I probably should practice that. Just so I'm ready, and just in case I'm in a different situation or hunting a hanging stand, or have the opportunity to shoot in different spots, different positions.
I think one thing that I'm gonna try to do this year is, first things first. I want to harvest a doe, and I think a lot of us in the state here, Minnesota, should have that towards the top of our list. I like where you started with the mental side of things, but right up there towards the top and in the top 5 or whatever, it should be harvest a doe. It's all area dependent too. Don't get me wrong. There's some areas that do not have high deer populations, but for multiple reasons. A, love the venison. B, help with the deer herd, balance that buck to doe ratio out a little bit, but also get that extra practice in. Anytime you can get an opportunity to harvest any type of game, you're ingraining that into your soul. Like, I'm a killer, man. I could do this.
Right.
So yeah, that's one of my goals going into this year is to do that. I would like to. I'm gonna end up hunting here in Minnesota. I'm going to go to South Dakota. I want to get to one other state this year.
Sure.
What state that is, I don't know. Obviously, it has to be an over-the-counter. I know North Dakota changed their regulations this year, so they're a different process of getting a tag out there. So I will not be going out to North Dakota this year, which I had a great experience out there last year. Great people that I met, awesome people, awesome property, all that stuff. So it's one thing I want to be able to do is harvest the doe. I want to try to get to another state, and then finally on top of that, continue reading my Bible, man.
I was gonna bring that up because you have that little Bible. That's awesome. I mean, I got a big one, but I'm not gonna carry that thing out there. So if I can find a little travel size one, I think that'd be perfect. But
dude, I don't know. It's been a game changer for me, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Just like I said, reminding myself, why we're doing this.
For sure.
And that has taken a lot of pressure off of me, too, of, like, trying to harvest the deer, with the social media stuff, whatnot. If it's going to happen, it's going to happen. And that was kind of the message in church this last Sunday here was put your trust in God, And he kind of made a point where he went to Disneyland or Disney World or whatever, and he went to go buy his 3 daughters or 4 daughters an ice cream cone, and here was $40 later, for 4 ice cream cones. Right. And his kids didn't bat an eye, but he's sitting there like, oh my gosh, I'm going to have to put in more hours a trip, the cost of all this stuff and whatnot, and he's freaking out, where his kids were just like, they never once thought twice about it,
right?
Because they trust their dad, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's what the message was all about, was trust God, right? Things are going to work out. You have a lot of people with suffer with anxiety and all that stuff, and a lot of times it's because it's you're focusing on yourself so much, where you need to get rid of that in any way, shape, or form, and just trust that things are going to work out.
For sure.
And I don't know if that's been my thought process on it, to be honest with you. I'm just more of the type of person, my personality is like, I'm going to make it work. Right. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like it's going to work out. Whatever I'm doing, it's going to work out. But there are times where all of a sudden I'm like, oh my gosh, what the heck? But just trusting that everything is going to work out. Now think about this, and I know there's other situations where things haven't worked out. But you go back, and I mean, some of your situations are a lot different than my situation. Everybody else has different situations, but think about some of those situations where you were so stressed out that right now, you and I sitting here, you can't even remember what it was you were stressed out about.
Right, yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Like there's so many times in our lives where we get so stressed out about something, and now all of a sudden, you couldn't even tell me what it was you were stressed out about 5 weeks ago.
Right.
So that's just one thing that I'm going to continue to do out in the stand, is just keep getting after it. Mike, out in my stand, I have read 272 more pages than I have read since I don't know when, and I'm not lying, man. It's been a while that I've actually taken a book and just hammered it out, man. And this is the right one to do
Absolutely,
it with.
Yeah.
So
no, I don't know how many pages I'm into mine. Probably, I don't know, 75 pages into mine or so. But it's interesting, like, just growing up, and you hear the Bible stories, right? But actually sitting down and reading it on your own pace, and really diving into what happened, and just how amazing God really is. And like you said, like when you're stressed out and some things feel heavy, like it's not always easy to just say, God, I need you to take these things. I can't handle them right now. And it's amazing. I've heard stories, like you talked about, closing your eyes, and all of a sudden this buck appears, and people are like, yeah, right. But no, it's true. Like we have a lady at church that had cancer, and by prayer and healing, like it's completely gone. Like it's crazy. Like, and so I'm not saying that's the case every time, but I'm just saying, like, there's definitely some power and work in God's miracles that He can do. So
I think the other thing it helps me do too is just soak everything in, and it helps my mind get back to kind of like what I was talking about, like with getting rid of trail cameras, just getting back to old school living. Just because what are we always doing? We're
technology,
always on these phones, and I'll tell you what, my mind feels a lot better after sitting in a stand reading the Bible versus sitting in a stand staring at my phone.
Yeah.
Like, I feel so refreshed after reading a chapter. If the hunt gets a little long, I'll read another chapter, whatever. And then as I'm sitting there reading, read a few sentences or whatever, and I'll just kind of look around and I go right back to my book.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's so relaxing and peaceful that I'm going to continue to do it. I don't know. I highly recommend people doing this. And if you can find, the Bible I have is, I don't know, probably half the size of my iPhone here. And it's just the perfect size. Just throw in your backpack. I can throw it in my pocket, whatever, and get after it. But it's a really refreshing opportunity for myself to go out there and do that. And I've read some at home, before going to bed and whatnot. But I really enjoy just being out in Mother Nature and reading that. It helps a lot in more ways than one. So that's definitely something I'm going to continue to do. So, and I don't know if we mentioned this or not, but you and your dad had an opportunity, and then I think your mom and brother had an opportunity.
Yeah,
also
they did. Yeah,
get baptized again.
Yeah, we got baptized. My dad, is recovering alcoholic and has been sober for 10 years, I think, in October. And I think it was right when Juliana was born. But so just for him to kind of give back to God, and so I had brought it up to him. I'm like, hey, would you ever think about being baptized? And it was just for him. He's like, yeah, actually, I was thinking of that. And so I'm like, well, I'd like to do it with you, And so sure enough, we several months ago we got baptized, and then just actually about a month ago, I think it was, maybe less than that even. My mom and brother got baptized down in Tennessee, so that was pretty awesome. And he just, for what he's been through with losing a kid and all that stuff, is pretty heavy for him. But the faith that he had to kind of pull through that, him and Sydney, was pretty incredible. So he wanted to just kind of give back, and it was his first. It was actually on Father's Day, so it was his first.
That's right.
Real Father's, even though Nelson was in heaven, but he just, it's just kind of cool that he did that. So pretty special.
That's a great reminder how we're going to shut down the podcast. Be thankful for this upcoming hunting season.
Right.
When you get out there, don't put all your chips into whether you're shooting a deer or not.
Right.
Be thankful of the people around you. Be thankful for the opportunity we have to be out and enjoy the outdoors. There's nothing better. There's nothing better to soothe the soul than being outdoors. And if you can incorporate God into it in one way, shape, or form, I highly recommend it because it is pretty cool.
Yeah.
No doubt.
Absolutely.
All right, you guys, enjoy the rest of the day, and thanks for listening. We're going to shut her down. What a way to end the podcast. There's nothing better to talk about than your faith and being confident and positive, and strategies to help minimize stress and anxiety, because we all deal with it in one way, shape, or form. And yeah, it's pretty cool. And I know hunting season can be pretty stressful, all the way from shed hunting to food plots and Mother Nature not giving you enough rain to get your food plots going. You're putting money into your seed and the cost of fuel right now, and then all of a sudden you don't see the return on that investment because it's not raining and all that stuff. It can be very frustrating, but just kind of keeping things in mind, moving forward, and keeping things in perspective, that it's not all about the product that you put out there, by physically doing things. It's that mental side of things that we really need to focus on sometimes, and just trusting that things are going to be good in one way, shape, or form. So yeah, it's a great way to end the podcast there. Mike's always good for a good talk when it comes to the mental side of things, because he has a great outlook on a lot of things in life, and he obviously has encountered difficult times in his life, as has everyone else, and everyone has their own issues and problems, and I don't know. Let's probably one of my best podcasts. It's pretty cool to kind of go down that road and that journey, and just having an opportunity to sit here with Mike and talk about strategizing life versus hunting there towards the end. But yeah, pretty cool to wrap up with that, and I hope you guys take that into consideration. And there's been other podcasts out there and other people that have helped me in my journey with my faith and everything, starting with my grandparents, and then just other people reminded me along the way of the thoughts and the process and the belief that I had, and kind of strengthening that a little more. And that's why I wanted to bring that Bible with me to kind of say, you know what, let's get back on this horse again, and let's get after it. I've enjoyed every single minute of it, and I hope you guys seriously take this into consideration. Like I said, there's people out there that I know that struggle with anxiety and stress and all that stuff, and there's nothing better than finding a church that you can go to and just feel positive and confident leaving. And that's what we've been able to do here, getting my kids and my wife and myself, to some great churches where we go in and we leave feeling better. It's a great feeling, and I hope you guys take that into consideration, because I know there are people out there that maybe don't attend church or whatever, or maybe don't really have a whole lot of faith in God. But I challenge you to maybe give it a try, and just give it a try, and talk to people. Don't be afraid to talk to people, and just be like, you know what? Hey, I've been thinking about going and checking out a church. Do you have any in mind that I could maybe check out? Don't be afraid to speak up, and I challenge the males in the household to do that. If you're coming from a family where maybe you don't attend church regularly, it doesn't have to be. I mean, if you can get there every other week or once a month or whatever, and I think it just builds off of that. And that's what we've been trying to do ourselves here. We try to become really consistent on getting to mass and church, and just trying to keep the ball rolling in the right direction, because I want my children to grow up knowing why we're here and what the ultimate goal is in the end. Because if we don't have any guidelines of this is my ultimate goal, this is where I want to be when it's all said and done. If we don't have those rules, I should say rules and regulations, but if you want to revert back to and reference hunting, if we don't have rules and regulations, like I said in the podcast, it would be a complete cluster. And for me, life is the same way. If I don't have an ultimate goal of being with God one day, or teaching my children, what it takes to be a good person and hopefully be with God one day as well. If we don't have those boundaries, it's going to be complete chaos. And hopefully that helps myself. Hopefully it helps my family, and hopefully it can help you as well. So we're going to shut her down here. Like I said, thanks to Mike for doing this podcast with me. It was really fun. I enjoyed it a lot, and I enjoy working with all of our partners, starting at the top here with Arctic Shield, Domain Outdoor, JNR Outdoors, JNR Outdoors. Let's be a little wordy here at the end. Skullcraft, The Fish Guide, S1K Custom Calls, also Fourth Arrow Camera Arms, and the Double Drop Vine. If you haven't gotten your scrapes out there yet, if you can find some grapevines, I highly recommend it. They're really cheap. If they're in your woods, go get them. If you don't have any, give me a shout. I know I had a couple people last week reach out to me saying, hey, you have any more of those vines? I said, sure do. So highly recommend using those. So we're going to shut her down. I hope you guys have a great week, and thanks for listening.